Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Ji ki Jai. I'm feeling very happy actually to restart our exploration of the Ashtavakra Gita. I mentioned to Guruji also the other day, and just now I got a message some time ago saying that he's also very happy that we are doing the Ashtavakra Gita like this, and he felt like one day he would also like to do something like this. So twice now we've looked at Ashtavakra before from the beginning. So this time I wanted to do something a little different, which would make it more of a experiential workshop rather than just me in a monologue commenting about Ashtavakra. And many of you maybe, I don't know how much, depending on the attention span, you'll be able to listen. So this time I felt like I feel like it is meant to be truly a self-exploration and like an experiential workshop rather than just one-way discourse, which is also it's very beautiful, of course. We had a beautiful time the last two times. What happens here is that every time I hear the words of a sage, especially a sage like Ashtavakra, then every sentence is used as a contemplation. Every sentence is used as this inner looking, this inner checking, this inner insight. And I hope to do it like this time, that as we go through these sentences, I can prod you, I can provoke you into also going through some of this checking. Many times the words of the sage can seem very simple and plain and feel like, okay, what's there to explore in this? But as we go through together, you might realize that new facets are revealing itself, new ways to inquire into the true self are revealing themselves. And it's a very unique scripture, of course, the Ashtavakra, because it's unique in the sense that it's just the first chapter. The questioner has questions in the first chapter. And by the end of the first chapter, the rest of it is a conversation between two sages. So quickly, Janaka comes to the recognition of his true self. And then you can also see the master, this great sage Ashtavakra, also doing what the masters do, like our great master does, which is to question, which is to not buy into the proclamation so easily, keep inquiring into, to make sure that all these conditions, all the ideas that we have about ourselves, are they truly dropped? Are we truly empty of them? It's a beautiful, beautiful exploration. So what I would suggest is we can take a couple of minutes for those of you at home. Those in Bangalore, I already told them to do this, which is to get a small notebook and come, something to write. If you don't have, you can use your phone for today if you like. And for those of you who are sitting at home, can also quickly go and get your notebooks, and I'll be happy if you participate this way. Even if your mind is resisting big time, saying, what is this? I don't want to. We're too old for homework. You can get. Can I use this? Maria's copy. I was going to actually open it on the computer, but maybe this is easier. The translation that we are using is a beautiful translation by Bart Marshall. Bart Marshall, I read a little bit and I saw that resonates very much with the expression of Guruji, the expression that is shared in Satsang here. So I like this particular translation very much, Bart Marshall, and it's available for free online. I hope it's available for free online in an authorized way. I didn't really check on that, but it seemed like it was authorized by the author to be put up over there. So as we jump in, let's invoke the presence, the Master. May His presence guide us into true essence behind these words. Father, bless me that this body can be a useful instrument as we explore this beautiful scripture. As always, may your words be spoken through this mouth. May all those who attend these sessions come to the fullest understanding of what is being conveyed in this beautiful book, these beautiful words. We start with chapter 1. The chapter 1 is titled Instruction on Self-Realization. Janaka says, Master, how is knowledge to be achieved? Detachment acquired, liberation attained. Janaka says, Master, how is knowledge to be achieved? Detachment acquired, liberation attained. And this questioner is a king. He obviously knows a lot, isn't it? He knows a lot. And yet, why does he ask this question? How is knowledge to be achieved? I'm sure every scripture, everything that is meant to be known in the worldly way is already known to him. And the translator here has also done a service to us and capitalized this K. He's capitalized this K. That how is knowledge with a capital K to be achieved? So it is obviously implying a form of true knowledge, a form of knowledge which is unlike the usual knowledge that we are used to. But before we can look at what is this true knowledge, let's explore for a few minutes what is our sources of knowledge? What is it that we know? And where does that knowing come from? Because presumably all of us are also looking for this true knowledge. So what is it that makes this knowledge true versus that which we've known so far in our day-to-day life? How do we know things? So my first question to all of you is that the first obvious way in which we seem to know things is perceptual, through our perceptions. And how do we get our perceptions? Seemingly through our senses, isn't it? So take a minute and write down what is it that you know through your eyes. What is it that you know through your eyes? What is it that you know through your ears? All the senses one by one. Ears, nose, touch, taste. perceptual knowledge of that which we seem to gain through our perceptions or that which we perceive. Now, when we look at this perceptual knowledge, it can seem like it is very straightforward and obvious. And yet, even this perceptual knowledge fails at times. How many of us are perceiving that this world, this earth that presumably we are sitting on right now, is moving at a rapid rate? It's moving at a rapid rate around the sun and around its own axis, revolving and rotating both. But is this our perception? Are we seeing this through our eyes or hearing this through our ears? Is there any perception of this? And yet we know this. So there's another type of knowledge which is beyond perceptual knowledge. Which type of knowledge is this? It is conceptual. So we have a concept about what is happening without it necessarily being a direct experience through our perceptions. So what other type of concepts do we know that we don't have a direct experience of? Can you contemplate a little bit and write down a couple of them where it's just conceptual. You got the knowledge because you heard it from a credible source or heard it repeated over and over. And even beyond perceptual, which is using the senses, outer perception, and conceptual, there's also a perception which is seemingly inward, inner perception. Imagination, memory, emotion, other sensation, pain and pleasure. There is a knowing of these, but it doesn't use these outer senses and doesn't rely on concepts for their appearance, for its appearance. So we looked at perceptual knowledge, we looked at conceptual knowledge, we looked at emotional or sensational inner perception. And this is available to everyone. Janaka said, how is knowledge to be achieved? Which means there must be a knowledge which is beyond all these, which is prior to all of these. So what are the parameters of this kind of knowledge? Parameters is that it must be directly experienced, direct insight, but also it must be unchanging. The truth is unchanging, the true knowledge is unchanging. If every day I'm changing the curtains in my house, and somebody asks you outside, so what color are Ananta's curtains? And you say yellow. Is that the truth? No, it was, or it could have been at some point of time, but it's always changing. So we cannot authoritatively say something is true, is it? Or we can say that I had the direct experience of it, but since it's in the realm of change, I cannot authoritatively say that this is true right now and it's always true. So when we're looking at true knowledge, it must pass the parameters of both our direct insight as well as it being unchanging. So what is it that you know that is both your direct insight and is unchanging? All of us as Janaka are seeking this. So he said, how is knowledge to be achieved? So contemplate for just a minute on whether you have any knowledge like this, that which doesn't change and that which is not just conceptual is your direct insight. If you see something like this, then make note of it and I'll come back to this question and ask you what if anything you did right. So in the first sentence of the scripture itself is a very deep contemplation. It sounds like a very straightforward question, how is knowledge to be achieved? And also it says, knowledge to be achieved, detachment acquired. Detachment means to not be attached to anything in this realm of appearances. So to understand detachment, you must first understand what attachment is. So what is attachment? I first moved into this house a few years ago. For the first time in my life, there was a garden. There was a small terrace garden on this house. First time. Not the first time. I was renting a place earlier which had a small garden. It really felt like I had a garden for the first time. So what I did is, in my initial enthusiasm, I planted some seeds. There were already some plants and grass and things, but I planted some seeds to watch this process. As I planted these seeds, then what happened is that every day I would wake up and the rest of the garden for some time would be invisible to me. I went first for these seeds to see what is happening with them. What would come out of those seeds would also be plants, would also be nature. And yet there was something which was attached to the outcome of these that I had planted. What is it that made one set of appearances mine and another set of appearances not mine or not as much mine? So when this play of me is there, and one of the strongest legs of this me, one of the strongest support systems of this me is the idea of mind. Now, this idea of mind is very troublesome because what did we just discover about this world of appearances? It's constantly changing. So, if it's constantly changing and we're holding on to something as mine, then what's going to happen to it? There's going to be suffering because it's going to change. So this is in this way when we already seem to have something and we call that mine, that becomes an attachment. This should not be taken away from me. And also comes in the opposite way, which is to look at something and say, this is not mine. I want that. This is not mine. I want that. Can also cause suffering. So attachment to the idea of owning something also perpetuates this sense of individuality, the sense of me. So we looked at desire, but the opposite of this desire, which is aversion, is also a form of attachment, in which we say, I don't want this to be mine, come what may. It could be pain, it could be relationship, it could be anything. So what is it that we attach our identity to, we attach ourselves to in a specific way? Notice that as this realm is a changeful realm, as everything here is constantly changing, notice how the idea that something is mine has the potential to cause so much suffering and has its basis in an individual entity called me. How identity relies on all of these conditions. Then King Janaka said, detachment acquired, liberation attained. So as we go through the first two parts of his question, which is true knowledge of the self, that which is unchanging, and the dropping of these conditions of attachments, then the end of seeming separation, the end of duality, is an obvious byproduct. When we recognize who we are and we don't apply false conditions onto ourselves. So this itself is a beautiful description of freedom, a beautiful description of liberation itself. Then the sage speaks. Ashtavakra said, to be free, shun the experiences of the senses like poison. They were a bit strong in those days. To be free, shun the experiences of the senses like poison. We don't have to go that far if we don't want to. But at least what we saw already is that there is something beyond our sensory experience. So if for some time, at least during the time in which we are in Satsang, we are in the reading of this scripture, we keep these experiences on one side and see what else is there. Besides our sensory perception, remain with your inner recognition, which is beyond sensory experience. Then he says, turn your attention to forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, simplicity, and truth. And the first time I remember when we did the commentary on the Ashtavakra, I just ignored this paragraph. I just said, let's move to the real stuff. Remember, some of you might have been there. First couple of times, there was not so much that came up to say on these things. But I feel today that it's a very beautiful paragraph because in each of these statements, in each of these pointings, we create space for the recognition of the self. Let's explore for a minute how that could happen. He says, turn your attention to forgiveness. What is the meaning of forgiveness? What is the opposite of forgiveness? It is to hold a grievance. Hold a grievance. And holding a grievance, what is the idea that is getting perpetuated? The idea is that there is a me again, there is another, and therefore I am right. I am right in holding a grievance against this one. So it is a virtuous circle where the recognition of the self brings us to the dropping of grievances. And it is the dropping of grievances that creates more space for the recognition of the self. And then it operates like this. So satsang is like coming into this recognition. And you will find that many times you will come into satsang with a lot of, you might have just had a fight with someone or an argument with somebody on the phone or something like this. And it might seem like it's such an important thing. And by the time you come to the end of satsang, you might feel it's not such a big thing. I don't. It's okay. Maybe he was having a bad day, and she was having a bad day. Something automatically changed. So that grievances got dropped away because you came into the presence of satsang. You came into the presence of your own recognition of the self. This grievance was dropped. He says, turn your attention to forgiveness, sincerity. Sincerity means not to be in a false denial, not to be in this lack of integrity. Many of us, in any way, are in denial about something or the other. That's why Maharaj used to keep stressing on this point. So keep saying, if you have integrity, everything will work out. If you have integrity. And this, I could never really understand when he used to say, when I used to read when I used to read I am that. Now it becomes more and more clear that it's all about this. Are we reporting from direct inside? Or are we reporting from something which is just conceptual, just interpreted, just an inference? So if you can look at sincerity as integrity, not denying. So when a question is asked to you, what is it that you find when you look within? You're not reporting from an inference of what you have found. Your words are as aligned to the experience as possible. And we are not getting into any sort of Advaita denial. There are many who come into a form of Advaita denial where they've heard the term that you are the self or you are awareness. And then actually they're still believing a lot about themselves. A lot of suffering is being experienced. And yet when a conversation happens, it will be that there is nobody here to suffer. I'm just awareness, I'm the self. Just the words of it, not the smell of it. So many times we come into these kind of just intellectual or Advaita sort of ego defense. So many times the words of Advaita, the words of this direct path in itself become very beautiful ways to defend the ego. Because uh, we refuse to go beyond the words of it. And it can feel like in the words the insight is available. No, the words at best are pointers to the insights. Use the words as tools. Let them lead you to a discovery of the self. No words are true. Maharaj Sri Nisargadatta used to say that the only truth I speak is that I am. And ultimately, even that is not true. Forgiveness, sincerity, kindness. Kindness. Often I've said that when true spirituality meets the world, one of the byproducts is kindness. Kindness doesn't mean that you're just using kind words, you're just being very nice in the tone of your speech. It's not like that. Many of the sages were very strong in their words. But in their heart, it was compassion. In their heart, it was what is best for who they are engaging with. So true kindness is in that. True master is always a servant to the longing, to your longing for the truth. So whether the words are seemingly kind or strong, there is only kindness in his heart, her heart, to lead you to this, the same discovery that they have had. So kindness, simplicity. Guruji often says that the truth is simple, but the mind is very complex. The complexity comes when we are empty of experience and we are full of concepts. Many times it can become very complex. So as we stay more and more with our direct insight, with what we are discovering for ourselves, we find that it's so simple. I know that I exist. What is this knowing? How do I know that I exist? It's very straightforward and simple, isn't it? Who doesn't know of their existence? They might not have the concept for it, which is not required. They might not have the best words to articulate, but everyone is always the self. This self that knows I am. And even these words, if you give it to the mind, what happens? It makes complex spiritual ideas out of them. So more and more we move towards simplicity. And then at the end he says, truth. Turn your attention to forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, simplicity, and truth. So truth is this truth. The truth which is seen, which is experienced, which is witnessed, and the truth which is without change. The definition of an appearance is that it is changing. So how is it that we can come to this truth? Through the aid of these scriptures and through our self-inquiry and being in satsang. So Ashtavakra in this paragraph has given some very practical advice on how to create more space for this recognition. And because Ashtavakra is a very, very direct teacher, he doesn't spend too much time on this. He goes straight to the root of it. In the next verse, He says clearly, you are not earth, water, fire or air. You are not earth, water, fire or air, nor are you empty space. This is very important. In India, these are referred to as the five elements. So you are not earth, water, fire or air, nor are you empty space. So when we looked at the content which was brought to us through our senses, we find that everything that is perceived is made up of these elements. And when we hear we are not this, we feel like we are some kind of space. And we use the word space also in Satsang. That's why I keep saying that it's not a spacious space. It is not space in the terms of length, breadth, and height. That's why quickly the sage says, after saying, you are not earth, water, fire, or air, nor are you empty space. So the mind's trick of presenting this picture to us, which is this blank space, and this is the self. Is who witnesses even that? That is the question. Does that have a length? Does it have a size? Can it be perceived as big or small? As having a shape? So Ashtavakra says, you are not earth, water, fire, or air, nor are you empty space. So then, my question to you is, if you are not earth, water, fire, or air, and you are not even space, then what must you be? What is it that you are, which is beyond these things? And you have to speak from your direct insight. And before I close today, I'll come and ask you for your answers. What is it that you are that is not none of these elements, not even the space in which these seeming elements are playing, which is the fifth element? Liberation is to know yourself as awareness alone, the witness of these. So saying that Ashtavakra doesn't beat around the bush, does he? One preparatory verse. This is many scriptures spend many chapters on describing the qualities and how to be a good seeker, all of these things. No. For Ashtavakra, one verse is enough. He said all that he had to about the preparatory phase, what are the qualities to inculcate. Straight he goes to this. In none of this perceptual world, they're not even the space in which they seem to appear. You are the awareness alone, which is the witness of these. Is given the answer and also the clue to find the answer, because otherwise the words you are awareness alone can seem like they're just words. So now for 2 minutes check on that which witnesses every phenomenon. Is there something like this witness? Don't resist any phenomena if it is coming up. Use all phenomena to check what witnesses this. Is that also phenomenal? Is that also changing? Is that made up of five elements or space? If your mind is coming with a report, check on who witnesses that. What is the witness made up of? You are not earth, water, fire, or air, nor are you empty space. Liberation is to know yourself as awareness alone, the witness of these. The sage says, abide in awareness. Abide in awareness with no illusion of person. You will be instantly free and at peace. Abide in awareness with no illusion of person. See, it's so beautiful that the how to, because when the pointing is heard, abide in awareness, then the question can immediately come, but how do I abide in awareness? So he says, with no illusion of person. See, there's just one statement he's given us a very important pointer. It is only the false that must not be picked up to abide in the truth. It is not that you have to go towards the truth and stay there. You are the truth. You are always there. To abide only means that the false identity, the illusion of person is not picked up. Right now you are awareness and abiding in it. But you have in your dynamic player's consciousness the power to pick up the illusion that you are a person, pick up the illusion, the pretense that you are something limited. With no illusion of person, you will be instantly free and at peace. He's talking about you. One of my favorite things to do is to, when somebody's confused about abiding in awareness, my favorite things to do is to ask you to leave it. So, and that will make it very clear what the sage is trying to say. Just leave awareness. So I'll count for 3 seconds. In these 3 seconds, don't be aware. 1, 2, 3. Did it? Became unaware for an instant? Even to say I was unaware would mean that there is awareness of a particular state which you might be calling unawareness. It is impossible for you not to be the self. You are always the awareness alone, always the self. That is why the sage says, abide in awareness, which only means don't pick up the false identity, the delusion of personhood, the delusion of limitation, which is false knowledge, which is not the truth about you, which is the source of all attachments. This idea of me. See how he's answering the question that was asked? How is true knowledge to be attained and detachment to be found? By seeing that you are this that witnesses this entire phenomenal play, and to see that you are this awareness, and there is no individual me, this illusion of me gets picked up. And all of you by now know how this illusion gets picked up. Consciousness poses as if it is limited, as if it is individualized, using the powers of attention and giving assent to, giving belief to this mind, whose job is to convince you that you are a limited entity. That is also by design of consciousness. So now it has played the game of individuality, and now the exit from the game also, it wants to extract the juice from this play of exiting this. And that is why it creates for itself this play of satsang, which is nothing but consciousness speaking with consciousness. So the exercise is try not to abide in awareness. Then you'll see that to abide in awareness truly implies just not to pose as if I'm limited. Even there, we are actually abiding in awareness, but we pick up this seeming illusion of suffering, of individuality, of separation, of duality and desire, doership, all these things. Okay, good enough for the reading for today. We just covered 5 verses, but I feel they're very, very strong, very powerful verses. I want to ask you, before we go for today, I want to ask you, What is that knowledge that you wrote or you felt you have, which is beyond the knowledge of the senses and beyond the knowledge of concepts and even beyond the knowledge of perception, inner perception like imagination and memory and emotion and sensation? Who would like to offer an answer?
Father, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
yes.
me?
Yeah. So good to see you.
Yeah. I wrote, I am the knowing of that. Am the knowing.
And you know this? Yes. Very good. How is it known?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just known. I don't even know if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense to me. It makes complete sense. So this is exactly what we've been sharing for so long. That when we ask the question, are you aware now? And you say yes. How is this known? You're not seeing a perception of awareness. You're not seeing the size, shape, color. You're not even experiencing it with some duration of time. You cannot even truly say that, unlike its dynamic aspect, which is presence, which is awareness itself, but we'll get to that in a minute if we have to. But at least for being, for consciousness, you can say that yes, I experience the presence of being. I am. But even this I am play, there is a subject which witnesses even this. This I, which is now am. I am. This I, we don't taste as a perception. You see, we don't see it with sight. We don't hear it with ears. We don't taste it. We don't smell it. We don't touch it. It's not a memory. It's not an imagination. None of these. And yet, it is I. Many times, when it becomes very intellectual, many come into this sort of a denial of even the self. And sometimes, because these explorations have happened for thousands of years, then the terminology can become a bit confusing and confuse some of us. So the self that we speak about is not the self, for example, is spoken about in Buddhism, which is another word for like a personal self. So the self that we speak about is the no self or the non-self in Buddhism. Anyway, so let's not digress in those directions. This that witnesses everything, including that you exist, it is undeniably I. It is the most intimate. It is beyond intimate because it is you. That is why this question, are you aware now, can seem like a very innocent pointing. But the basis for your yes is very important. It's unlike any other yes. I've done this exact same thing earlier maybe. I ask you, is there a coconut in my hand? You say yes. Why? Because you have the perceptual knowing that there is something which is, and then a conceptual knowing which is that it's called coconut. So this perceptual knowing and conceptual knowing makes you say yes. I perceive a coconut, and therefore I can say yes. If I say, is there a coconut in my hand? You say no. I don't perceive it, therefore no. But I ask you, are you aware now? You don't perceive it through your senses. You might not even have a concept of it, although some of you might because of satsang. And yet, you say yes. Why? Then you might say, okay, maybe you're imagining a coconut, but I ask you, are you imagining this? You say no. Is it coming from some memory of coconut? No. It is coming from your inside right now. That you are aware now needs no history, needs no other perception. It is your most direct recognition of the self, whose consciousness, which is a dynamic aspect, the dynamic play of the self itself, of awareness itself. For a while posed as if it is a limited entity, pointing seemingly outwards, and now coming to the recognition of its own source. So as consciousness, you come to the recognition, I am that I am. Therefore, the recognition, I am God or I am consciousness. And then the recognition doesn't have to be in this order, but usually in this order that I am that, which is even before I am. That. And how is this recognition to be found? By just with your pure insight, looking at this question, am I aware now? Can it be any simpler? This is the simplicity that Ashtavakra was speaking of. And then he also gave the answer to the next question, which usually is, okay, yes, I see it, but how do I abide in it? Isn't it? That's what we usually say. In fact, the other day in Satsang, I did a poll, and so many of you said, I see it from time to time, I recognize myself. And thankfully, most of you said, when you are in Satsang and you check for yourself, you find this recognition. But it seems difficult to abide in this. Because we have made abidance also another doing, something for us personally to do. That's why I've been trying to say that abiding is nothing, but it is happening naturally. But you can just pose as if you're not abiding. And it's just this posing which seems to fall away more and more and more. This posing of individuality. So this is the meaning of true knowledge with a capital K. That which is beyond perception, which is beyond conception, that which is beyond emotion, sensation, that which is beyond even consciousness, beyond even I am. This awareness, this witness to all that is phenomenal, is your undeniable experience. That's why golden rule I've been sharing with all those who are coming here is Speak from your insight and not from your inference. What that means is don't judge the experiences that you're having. Don't label them. Just allow your words to be as aligned as possible to what you're experiencing directly. And with this integrity, this sincerity, what is being shared by the great sage Ashtavakra will be very apparent. Nancy says, Father, I am at work and can't unmute, but I am this constant stillness in the background of perception. Very beautifully put. Very beautiful. I said we'll come to that part later where I explain how it can, to the mind, it can seem confusing sometimes when I say that you are even beyond consciousness. You are that awareness in which consciousness is born and dissolves back into. It can seem like we are speaking of some sort of duality. You see? But actually we are speaking about one. You see? We are speaking about one hand. But qualitatively it seems like there are 5 fingers. You see what I'm saying? That there is one eye. But qualitatively it seems like there appears within it something called a finger, which doesn't make it 2 hands. It's still one. It's I and I am. You see? So this am plays, waking state happens, dream state happens, identification, all of this drama, it happens. And then when amness is done with playing this drama, it goes back to sleep in its father's lap, which is awareness itself. So there is only this awareness, because even this finger is made up of what? Of the hand alone. Consciousness is made up of what? Of this same self alone, of awareness alone. And yet the qualitative appearance of consciousness is undeniable. So it is not the same as when we say that the person is just not there. Ultimately, it is true that consciousness also is just not there. Everything is just awareness. But that this beingness is tasted is undeniable. The person, on the other hand, is just like if you carried a belief about yourself that actually you're just a visitor here from Mars. Suppose you carried this belief about yourself. Would there be an actual Martian here? Would there be a qualitative taste of this Martian? No. You see, it could only be the taste of this sense of separation, the sense of identity, but never really the separate entity. So the person is like that. The being is actually tasted. In fact, the play of this creation is the tasting of my being. Is to taste this existent aspect of myself. We will explore that in more detail later. Is there any other answers that anyone wrote that you want to report to me about any of the questions that I asked? You can type it out or you can speak it out.
Hi, Ananta. Can you hear me?
Hello, Paul. Yes, my dear.
Hi, Ananta. I wrote the direct non-conceptual recognition of that which the concept awareness points to.
Very good. Say that again. I like that.
The direct non-conceptual recognition of that which the concept awareness points to.
Yes. Very good. Very good. I enjoyed this answer very much. Very good. Then Shanti, isn't it? Sometimes I have trouble remembering the names that you had before. But yeah, Shanti says, openness beyond definition of open and closed. Yes. This is all there is. All one, all open. Open perception. Already too many words to describe this. Beautiful words again. I'm so happy. I feel very nice my play as Ananta to share and then get feedback like this and get answers like this from all of you, and it makes it seem very beautiful, this whole process. Okay, Radha says, I have to go now, kids need attention. That's not an answer about awareness. Claire says, my best description of the self is a sublime normalness. Yes, sublime normalness. Naturalness. I less I. I less I. Yes. I less I is another nice way of saying what Bhagavan used to say. I removes the I and yet remains the I. So that I which can be removed is obviously not the unchanging truth that we spoke about. There must be this I, which is empty of this I, and yet remains the I. Very good, very good. Sending you all my blessings and love. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Ji ki Jai.
Sadhguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.